Years ago, when I still lived in East Hampton, New York, I met a neighbour. As we got to know each other, we began to socialise with one another on a regular basis over the summer. What began as borrowed cups of sugar, flour or coffee turned into occasional drinks at each other's homes and eventually grew to invitations to our neighbourly backyard barbecues. As she accepted my first cookout invite, she asked, "Do you mind if my dog comes too?" "Course not. To be honest with you, I get along with dogs and cats better than I do with most humans I've met. You're both welcome. So why don't the two of you show up at my place around 7 this evening and we'll throw some food on the fire for everyone. By the way, what's your dog's name?" "Shark." "Shark?" "Yep, I named him Shark." And I just let it go at that. At a few minutes past 7, as I was igniting the charcoal in the grill, Zoe, my neighbour, and Shark, her dog, had made their way from their house to my backyard. After a few neighbourly hugs, Zoe handed me a bottle of chilled white wine she'd brought along for the al fresco dining occasion, which I promptly opened and poured each of us a glass. Doing my best to be a good host, I had also returned from my house not only with the glasses of wine for us bipeds, but also a bowl of water for her quadruped companion. As we humans sat in lawn chairs, sipping our Sauvignon Blanc, Shark took a seat next to Zoe's and began to study me. His stare rarely veered from where I sat as we drank. Threw some chicken, potatoes and corn on the barbecue and chatted away as the summer sun sunk lower in the cloudless evening sky. In fact, just about the only time Shark looked away from me was after I'd placed a plate of chicken before him that I'd considerately filleted and cut up for the dog. For a moment the animal remained motionless. Shark then looked down at the plate of food, then at me, and finally up at Zoe, who told him, "That's okay, Shark, you can eat now." I was impressed. Shark was not only well behaved, but he appeared to possess good manners too. The only other time Shark looked away from me was when he twice had to make a trip into the shrubbery that separated our yards to relieve himself in privacy. He may have only been a mid-sized non-pedigree mongrel my neighbour had picked up at a rescue shelter, or so I was informed of later, but he certainly knew how to conduct himself like a gentleman in mixed company. When the meal and the wine were finished, the neighbour assisting me in the clean-up process told me she'd let me know the next time she would be cooking outside, and that I'd of course be invited. Then she and her pet returned to their home. It wasn't until a few late mornings later that we bumped into each other again, while we were both pottering about in our respective front yards. Her mixed breed was at her side, a place he seldom seemed to want to leave. After the exchange of the obligatory neighbourly salutations, I asked her, "What's the backstory behind your puppy's name? Why'd you call him Shark?" With a pixie-ish look of mischievousness on her tanned face, Zoe simply responded, "Are you busy doing anything urgently important right now?" "No, not really. What did you have in mind?" "Follow us," was all she said. I may not have already mentioned it, but our houses out here in the Hamptons were within walking distance of the public beach. So the three of us left our homes with me walking on the roadside of the sidewalk. See, Shark wasn't the only gentleman in our little trio. That eventually became a sandy shoulder pathway. Zoe flanked in the middle and Shark walking alongside her to the right. By the time we reached the shore, it was almost noon, and boy was it ever hot outside. Now standing where the sand met the tarred surface of the already nearly full parking lot, I could see that while the beach was crowded with most sunbathers on towels and folding out furniture, there were several dozen or so swimmers in the choppy waves. "Go ahead, Sharky, you can go play now," Zoe told them up. And with her permission, he tore off running and kicking up small clouds of sand along the way, up and down the shoreline. The beast frolicked and played with hardly anyone paying any attention to him. By this time he now had even dashed into the shallow ocean coastline to chase receding waves of water, and was then chased back to dry land by the incoming ones, barking happily as the game played out. Not being sure where all of this was going, I had to ask, how does any of this explain why you named your little body as you did? Turning in my direction, Zoe gave me a covert co-conspiratorial wink of one of her dazzling green eyes, then whispered, "Watch and listen." Cupping her hands along the sides of her mouth in order to amplify her voice, Zoe began calling the dog's name over and over again. "Shark! Shark! Get out of the water now! Shark!" In my entire life, I'd never seen so many people exit the water as quickly as I did on that day. Those closest to land were out of the ocean in the blink of an eye and waving in swimmers who were further out to sea. A couple of them even echoed the pet owner's original cry of "Shark! Shark! Get out of the water now! Shark!" Those bobbing in the briny deep blue who were within earshot raced to shore as if they were being pursued by, well, some hungry shark. While this edition of those on the water's edge shouting his name may have momentarily befuddled and confused the dog named Shark, he nonetheless ran to obediently return at the sound of his master's command to Zoe's side. He was, after all, a very good dog. A very, very good dog. Although we were both cracking up with maniacal laughter, we wordlessly decided it was best to leave now, lest we be revealed as the ones who had just innocently instigated a false shark alarm. My appreciation of Zoe's sense of sardonic humour, as well as Zoe in general, rose by several degrees after that little exhibition. Throughout the remainder of that summer, the three of us shared multiple neighbourly visits, many bottles of wine, plentiful pounds of great food cooked out on the grill, and most importantly of all, lots of laughs. And every now and then, the three of us would return to the beach to play Shark's and Zoe's favourite beach time prank.